In this video, we will be tasting and talking about a spring 2021 batch of Tie Guan Yin Oolong tea. ecochateas is here today tasting our spring 2021 harvest of Tie Guan Yin Oolong tea, produced in Muzha, Taipei, northern Taiwan. And we are happy and proud to finally have accomplished what we have wanted to do for a few years now at least, which is to stagger our harvests so that we can allow the freshly made tea to sit for half a year and offer it come the next season, namely spring and winter. So now that winter tea is being made, we are just putting our spring batch on the shelf. And this is a specific thing to this tea type because of the way that it is processed. Namely, the most significant factor is heavily roasted. So along with a unique process where in the making of Tie Guan Yin, when the leaves are being rolled and dried, they're wrapped into a ball with cloth tarps. And in the making of Tie Guan Yin only, to the best of our knowledge, they are put into a warmer, basically, a machine that radiates heat at low temperatures, but evenly for as long as you want to allow the leaves to be exposed to that heat. And in effect, they are lightly steamed. They kind of steam in their own juices, and it creates a tangy flavor in the finished product. Something like fermentation, but technically we're not sure if that is the correct word to use. But by wrapping the still wet, probably 40% moisture leaves in cloth balls and exposing them to, I think, about 80 or 90 degrees Celsius, it creates a flavor component that is unique to Tie Guan Yin Oolong, made in the fashion of Muzha in Taipei. So that is the distinctive characteristic of this type of oolong tea. And when the tea is just freshly made, that tangy component in the flavor profile is much less obvious. One reason is because the leaves are heavily roasted, so you get a heavy roast flavor, which seems to kind of cover the tangy, fruity flavor. But I do believe that it's more than that. I think something happens in allowing the leaves to settle for 6 months or so, and then beyond. The Tie Guan Yin is definitely a tea that will improve with age. It'll just continue to mellow, and the more subtle flavors will become more apparent as the roast factor becomes less. So we intentionally buy a batch of tea made by our friend that has a little bit higher roast level, because we've learned that that roast level will indeed mellow out, and it will be accompanied by or balanced out by this tangy, fruity character that comes out months later and then years later as well. And it's a really satisfying character of tea in this respect. If you like fruity, tangy flavor notes and roasted, smoky flavor notes, and if you can imagine putting them together, if you haven't experienced them directly yet, that's what you get with Tie Guan Yin from Muzha, Taipei, Taiwan. Okay, so I brewed 10 grams of tea leaves in this 150 milliliter pot. I have the first, second, third, fourth, and the fifth brew in the pitcher. The combination of the first through the fourth brews are here. It's cooled down to almost room temperature. Before I continue talking endlessly, I'm going to start tasting tea. When it cools down to, it's still warm, but it's not at all hot. There's so much fruitiness, it's amazing. I'm so excited because I chose this tea out of 4 different batches in May. And we also sourced a batch of tea that was entered into competition, the spring tea competition. And I remember thinking that, oh, he's intentionally not roasting it too much because he'll go over the roasted mark, so to speak, what they're going to use for a standard of quality in the competition. He can't do what he does with these batches, which I think is, in the long term, a better method. It produces something that's heartier, more bold character than what was entered into the competition. The competition was extremely smooth, extremely balanced, with enough tanginess, but it was more of a friendly tea than this kind of really bold character that you get from roasting the leaves and allowing them to sit for several months in this case. I was trying to, I brewed this morning thinking about making this video, and I just don't know what kind of fruit I'm tasting, but it's obviously tangy, sweet note in there. I can imagine Granny Smith apples or a Gravenstein apple, that tart apple factor. It's something close to that, because you really got to get a tart factor without making it sour. It's not really, I don't get citrus. I get something more tart. Perhaps a berry could be in there, but still, it's more of a okay, I'm gonna say that profile of a tart apple is what I would call this flavor. And then it's just the underlying smoky roasted base, so to speak, is so satisfying. It's a warming brew, and it has something like a mulled wine effect where it's complex and savory, spicy, smoky, and tangy. It has fruity tanginess. I'm gonna go to the second brew here. A little more balanced. If you like this kind of tea, it's so satisfying. It's quite a bold character. So you can mellow that out by brewing less of a proportion. I did 1:15 ratio of tea leaves to water, 10 grams of tea leaves to 150 milliliters of water. Go lighter if you want a more delicate flavor profile. You'll still get those notes, but they won't be so intense. I think, in connoisseurship, people use tobacco, leather, those kind of things. Our brains conjure those things. I don't know about anybody chewing on those things, but you get that kind of essence where there's something about like a pipe tobacco, a fruit flavored pipe tobacco. It's probably more olfactory, of course. It's got a nice composition. The soup is thick and smooth and kind of viscous. Okay, thinning out a little bit on the fourth brew. I think, as I typically do, I think I go with what I go with on the first brew. I intentionally go a little shorter on the second brew. And then, because I went shorter on the second brew, I almost unconsciously go the longest brewing interval on the third. And that's where I kind of, the flavor peaks in terms of its intensity. I'm gonna go back for another sip here. Yeah, thicker, definitely. It's intense. This tea has a lot of flavor. I'm getting a slightly bitter undertone, but combined with smoky and tangy, the bitter is it's just there in combination with the other bold flavors. I'm gonna quickly taste the fifth brew. I let the fifth brew for several minutes, about 5 minutes, I believe. It's noticeably darker than the previous brews. Let's see what we got. I think it's the most flavorful tea that I am familiar with. It's just so explosion in your mouth. I probably said it 10 times at least already. Roasted and tanginess together are a hearty combo, and it gives you a lot to experience. really stoked to be able to do what we just mentioned, which is to wait 6 months before offering a tea. I am confident that this batch of tea has a better flavor profile than it did when it was just freshly made in May. Since I have it here, I'll go with the combo glass here of the first 4 brews. Less of the bold tanginess. That's interesting. Definitely still a mellowed roasted factor. It's possible that I feel that way just because I just had that intense 5th brew that sat for a long time. Yeah, basically, I just love the tart apple factor with a very distinct roasted thing. There, I said it again. Okay, there we have it. Spring 2021 harvest of Tie Guan Yin Oolong, made from a guy who we feel is really kind of the epitome of a Taiwanese tea artisan. He works hard, and he does most of the work by himself with the assistance of his wife, and we just feel like it's deep tea culture with them. They're just doing their own thing. He's also been winning the highest awards in the local Farmers Association. So he's not just being eccentric, he's learning how to make the tea with the raw produce that he has to work with. These batches that he makes are about a 50-50 combination of the Tie Guan Yin tea strain. It's actually a cultivar that came from Anxi province in China, I believe, and combined with Jin Xuan Taicha number 12, a hybrid that was developed here in Taiwan. The main reason for that is that there's just not a lot of Tie Guan Yin cultivar being grown, especially in northern Taiwan. But also, it evidently works if you combine it with Jin Xuan, but you still have 50% Tie Guan Yin. It has, Tie Guan Yin is a bold character of tea in terms of its flavor profile that it produces. But the Jin Xuan might give it kind of round it out a bit, mellow it out a bit, kind of fill out the more stark flavor notes that could be found and are commonly found in a Tie Guan Yin strain. So it's 50-50 Tie Guan Yin and Jin Xuan. Very small batches, ridiculously small batches of tea that are made. We feel really lucky to be able to offer them on a regular basis over the years. It's on the site, and now you can go to ecocha.com, click on the menu for oolong teas, click roasted teas, and you will find Tie Guan Yin Oolong at the top of that page. Check it out.